All right, everybody, we're back working on the E93 once again. So if you haven't seen any of the other videos, I bought this E93 for about 3,300 bucks. It had a crack in cylinder 3, so I'll link up above somewhere so you could check out the playlist with all the other parts of this series if you want to follow the build. But today we're going to try to make as much progress as we can with the parts that we have. We're still waiting on a few things from FCP Euro, but today my goal is to get the valve cover on, maybe get the oil filter housing on, and get some of the accessories like the alternator and stuff like that on there. So let's see how much progress we can make today, and make sure you hit the subscribe button to follow the rest of this build and keep me accountable. Drop a comment, let me know what you think of my build or any advice on this, and make sure you drop a like on the video. So let's dive into this. All right, everybody, so the next thing we're going to do is the oil filter housing and the oil filter cooler. So we're going to start with the gasket here, or we'll put on the oil cooler gasket, and then we'll get the sensor changed and torque down all the bolts and get that ready to go. We're still waiting on the valve cover gasket and a few other things, so I'm just going to tackle this real quick. So I've got the FCP kit. It comes with a new pressure switch, the filter housing gasket, and then the oil cooler gasket, and then new bolts for the oil cooler to bolt on, and new bolts for the oil filter housing to go on, and then new O-rings. This is something extra I ordered. And then new gaskets for the intake. So I believe this is like 70 or 80 bucks. You know, it's a little bit more than just going to your auto parts store and getting the gasket, but worth it. All right, so I'm going to get the main housing bolted onto the block with the new gasket. That way I can have better leverage to torque down the oil cooler thermostat and the actual pressure switch. So let's get this on. Let's get this all cleaned up with some brake clean, and then we'll mount it on there. All right, so I've got the oil filter housing back on here. Now I'm going to put the oil cooler thermostat gasket back on and torque these 3 bolts down. They're all the same, so you don't have to worry too much. All right, so now that we've got this all done, so we've got a new gasket here, and a new pressure switch. We're going to mount the high pressure fuel pump. So I'm just going to take it off the old engine because it was pretty new to that engine. So we're going to reuse it here. It's just these 3 bolts, so we'll get that on next. All right, next up is the alternator. So we're going to get the lower bracket back on, and then we'll get the alternator wedged in between it. So I'm just going to get these bolts started, and then I can get the alternator in place. It's kind of heavy, so... All right, so it's starting to look like an engine again, minus the valve cover missing. So we've got the alternator on, the oil filter housing on, the oil pan on, the rod bearings are done. So next, since I have them already, I'm going to put the knock sensors back on. So there's one on each side. If you're going to replace them, you replace them in pairs, and they go to one connector to the harness. So we'll put those on right now. All right, so FCP Euro ended up fucking me again. My valve cover gasket was supposed to come today, and it did not. So we're not able to move forward on this until it does. So in the next video, we should make a lot more progress because by the time I have my next video out, I should have all the parts for this car, minus maybe a few things that we don't really need to get the engine in. So I know it's kind of a short video, but I made as much progress as I could. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can see the rest of this build. Drop a like on the video, and you know, comment your encouragement to make sure that I finish this build. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys.
I'm just really trying to show you love.